Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis. Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis. Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis. Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Fendi, Fendi, Prada. Them basic bitches wear that shit, so I don't even bother. Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Fendi, Fendi, Prada. Them basic bitches wear that shit, so I don't even bother. I put that on my partner, I put that on my family. Oakland City represent, address me as your majesty. Yeah, you can kiss the ring, but you can never touch the crown. I smoke a million Swisher blunts and I ain't never coming down. Bitch, you ain't no Barbie, I see you work at Arby's. Never too super silent, hurry up, I'm starving. Gnarly, radical, on the block I'm magical. See me at your college campus, baggy full of Adderalls. Call me if you need a fix, call me if you need a boost. See them other chicken heads, they don't ever leave the coop. I'm in the coop cruising, I got the stolen plates, serving all the fiends over there by the Golden Gate. Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis. Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis. Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Fendi, Fendi, Prada. Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Fendi, Fendi, Prada. Them basic bitches wear that shit, so I don't even bother. Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Fendi, Fendi, Prada. Them basic bitches wear that shit, so I don't even bother. I put that on my partner, I put that on my family. Oakland City represent, address me as your majesty. Yeah, you can kiss the ring, but you can never touch the crown. I smoke a million Swisher blunts and I ain't never coming down.
Do you agree that there's no such thing as racism, sexism, homophobism, Islamophobism, deadbeat dadism, white supremacism, and all the other isms? Destiny, that's a woman's name. You were raised by your daddy and mama. That makes you half man and half woman. You are a beta. You're not a real man, beta. I just have one question for ya, beta. There's just one thing I want to know. Destiny, do you love all people? Do you really love the blacks? Destiny, do you love black people? Why can't you just answer the question? Destiny, do you love all people?
Systems, the company store, the paradigm of absolute control. And that's why we're just out here doing simple things, pointing out that we're meant to be in nature and be natural. And this is where we find the source that God made to transcend the New World Order. And that's why they want to try to keep us out of it.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian murderers scum. They're on giant death factories keeping babies alive and selling their body parts. What more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under rocks. They have green looking skin and they run around screaming, we love Satan, we wanna eat babies. I have them on video Shorty's in the creepy, weird, sick stuff, man. She sleeps in the same room with that creepy, weird woman whose mother wears a hood over her head. What the hell? That woman number one is ugly. Imagine how bad she smells, man. I'm told her and Obama just stink. Obama and Hillary both smell like sulfur. Literal vampire pot-bellied goblins are hobbling round, coming after us. My spirit gets close to that evil and I feel it go. We're such self-centered crap. We don't even notice hell itself rising up against us. Millions of pointed people of the very worst type, and I'm so pissed. We're gonna stab your daughter at the mall. We're gonna stab your wife, your son. We're gonna stab you with a butcher knife, and then the police chief is gonna say, we love our Somalis, we love our Muslims. Oh, they're so good, oh, they're so sweet.
I was watching Fox News as I worked out this morning.
Whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house.
I said certified freak. 7 days a week. Wet ass P word. Make that pullout game weak. Yeah, you effin' with some wet ass P word. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass P word. Give me everything you've got for this wet ass P word. Beat it up, N word, catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this P word right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card. Hop on top, I wanna ride. I do a kegel while it's inside. Spit in my mouth, look in my eyes. This P word is wet, come take a dive. It continues along these lines. And it gets significantly more vulgar. Like, a lot more vulgar.
I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. My children aren't going hungry. I'll do it. I'll drink your blood. And I'm starting to think about having to eat my neighbors. You think I like size it up? I'm gonna haul him up back chain. Chop his ass up, size it up. I'm gonna haul him up back chain. Chop, 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 chop. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I'll barbecue your ass flat. I will cook your ass up so fast, and I'll tell them, oh, I killed a cow out back, baby. You think Christ would eat somebody? He would never do that. I will. I'm ready to hang them up, gut them and skin them and chop them up. You know what? I'm ready. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. And that's why I want the globalists to know. I will eat your ass first. I swear to God, if it's the last thing I do, I'm gonna get my hands around your throat.
What rolls downstairs, a motor in pairs, rolls over your neighbor's dog? What's great for a snack and fits on your back? It's long, long, long. It's long, long. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood. It's long, long. It's better than bad, it's good. Everyone wants a long. You're gonna love it long. Come on and get your long. Everyone needs a long.
Log from Blammo. It's another Be Weird broadcast. Let's go! How's it going, chat? How you doing? Yo, it is Saturday. It's the weekend, everybody. I hope you have the day off. I hope you're free. It's the weekend. It is Saturday, September 17th. Coming at you live here from Montreal, Quebec. I'm Be Weird. I'm here to shepherd you through the bad times in the very normal country that I happen to live a little too close beside. How you doing, everybody? How's it going? Hope you're feeling fine. I'm here to freak your mind. Listen to Party Boy 69. It's good shit. It's a beautiful day here in Montreal. It's another bright blue, beautiful day. Starting to get cold. You can feel the fall creeping in. And soon, you know what? The leaves are going to turn. I should figure out an IRL setup because Montreal in fall is chef's kiss. Absolutely gorgeous. And I think it would be pretty lovely to like maybe walk down the mountainside, recording the beautiful trees and landscape. But yeah, how's it going, everybody? How's it going? I hope you caffeinated. I hope you got a good day planned. I hope your whole weekend isn't planned. It's sometimes nice not to, you're like, oh geez, every hour has been accounted for my free time. I'm not feeling so free right now. Not feeling so, in control of my destiny, let's say. But hey, how's it going? We got good content lined here. I got so much content. I kind of skipped on this yesterday, but it's a wild story. And the more you dig into it, the more bizarre it gets. And it's the kidnapping. The straight up governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, sending migrants, i.e. duping them into getting aboard, I guess planes and stuff. I'm still not totally educated on it. But yeah, it kind of amounts to kidnapping. It's kind of strange. They're reverse freedom rides, everybody. And you know how we feel about freedom on this channel. We're very pro freedom. And there's reverse freedom rides, and the Washington Post dug up something similar that happened in like the 50s. So I'm really curious to see what that's all about. So we're here for it. I hope you're doing good. We're gonna check that out, and then I got a big debate. Well, I have a very small debate with Critical Canadian tomorrow. We're still trying to nail down the specific topic, but it's going to be about the Keffals arc and about, how safe should Keffals be being? How safe should Keffals be being right now? And if you can help me figure out what exactly the question is, it would really help drive the debate. When I asked him, I gave him first go, like, pick the topic, my guy. He's like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just riffing, apparently. So I would like to come up with a good question, and I'd like to go over some of the facts, like especially the London Police Services write-up, which was like, some people in the online space call what happened swatting. I'm like, oh geez, it's right there in the black and white. And CC's going hard right now about lack of journalism ethics nowadays and how doomer-pilled he is over it. And I'm like, my guy, just read the news. It's like multiple sources that confirm this. The police confirm this. We have a live stream video of Keffals showing the bag of evidence with her dead name on it. Like, it's what's going on, man? What's happening? What's the deal? So we'll kind of cover that, try to inform ourselves about the full Keffals arc, come to some understanding of how good should your operation security be if you're a big streamer and you take down Kiwi Farms? Should you go into hiding, or should you have your day in the sun? I certainly think that Keffals ought to be queen for the day, at the very least. So we're gonna get into the main topic. We got some content lined up from a bunch of sources, all sort of hashing over the main comment, but from the main story from different perspectives. Specifically the migrants being moved against, I mean, coerced. I don't know. We're gonna find out. It's an interesting line. So let's get into it. Let's blast off on Twitter and Twitch and all that jazz. Alrighty. So yeah, my very first Twitter debate. I'm hoping that this is really, I'm actually excited for this because I want to properly test myself. It's one thing to say I am calm and seeking understanding. It's another thing to do it. And one of the things I love practicing is like when you're in an argument with someone who you really disagree with, you're like really trying hard to understand them. You can feel the bull. You're like grabbing the horns, and there's somebody I studied under who is like, there's a game happening there, and it's who can stay calmest the longest. And I like to think that if you're in a debate or something, part of it is maintaining your cool and trying to get them out of theirs, trying to reveal that actually the reasoning isn't motivated by logic or personal values or experiences or stats. It's just knee-jerk reaction to the last thing you said. And if you can ever show that in someone, the audience is very quickly going to suss it out. So I'm hoping to try to practice just being calm, understanding. I truly don't understand CC's perspective here. And that's a sign of a blind spot, I suppose. I'm not sure how he's getting to his conclusions, especially when, there's like facts that are just like right there, and he's complaining about the lack of facts and lack of journalism. It's going to be an interesting vein to mine, because he seems sincere, sort of, kind of. Anyways. We'll get to that section in due time. Let's get on over to some good old content. Oh geez, we got Law and Crime here. He's gonna give us like a nice, good, solid overview. I just gotta switch some stuff. There we go. This guy, Ron DeSantis, everybody. Kill the music. I'll kill the music.
Leaders committing a crime by sending migrants to democratic areas? Will the DOJ launch an investigation? Criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Matt Mangino comes on to discuss. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jeff.
What a great question. Hey, Sen, how's it going? Is transporting migrants against their will by tricking them a crime? I don't know, Jack. Definitely doesn't sound legal.
Jesse Weber.
For Sussy Baka. Oh, there'd be a lot of that
What Ron DeSantis is saying is, I don't want them in my party. I told y'all I don't want them in my party. But if you insist when they get here, they are your responsibility now, being that these states are sanctuary cities. And being that these
It's not a
states are
crime if you don't
sanctuary
get
cities,
caught.
that shouldn't be a problem.
I mean, he's like the governor. How do you not get caught? Hey, Matt, how you doing? Good morning.
The only reason I'm giving Ron DeSantis donkey today is because he should have gave Martha's Vineyard's advance notice. Okay, all of these governors from Texas,
Wild.
Florida, Arizona, don't just put these humans on buses and planes and ship them to sanctuary cities. Let the sanctuary cities know they are coming. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. And second, it's the same reason we want people's votes on record, so we can see who's really about that life.
This was quite the story, and I'm sure you've seen it on the news. In an effort to address the issue of immigration and the southern border, Republican leaders have engaged in this campaign of sending migrants to Democratic hotspots. This includes...
I'm pretty sure this idea comes from, like, they were sending homeless folk between states to try to stress out the public services systems. I can't remember which states. I want to say, like, Nevada and California. God, am I showing my Canadian ignorance right now?
It's Florida Governor Ron DeSantis sending migrants who cross the U.S.-Mexico border to Martha's Vineyard. And then you have Texas Governor Greg Abbott sending 2 buses of migrants to the Washington, D.C. home of Vice President Kamala Harris.
It's like they found human cannons and are like, pew, 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 pew. Like they're sending humans as it... how do you get to that conclusion? Like, how do you just not see the people as people?
In fact, it is
You have
now
to
being
interact with them.
reported that the 50 migrants at Martha's Vineyard are being moved to a military base in order to better.
That's the picture I'm using for my YouTube stream. He's like, thumbs up. We're going to the place that America's about. Peace and prosperity, everybody.
Take care of them. And while,
Look at
this
the hope in his
political
eyes.
action has fueled praise and condemnation, depending upon which side of the aisle you're looking at, the real question here, the critical question, is this illegal what they're doing? California Governor Gavin Newsom says that there needs to be an actual probe here. He said, quote,
For real.
what DeSantis and Abbott are doing isn't clever. It's cruel. I'm formally requesting the DOJ begin an immediate investigation into these inhumane efforts to use kids as political pawns. He actually tweeted this. So, to make sense of this, let me bring in criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Matt Mangino. Matt, it's good to see you. Thanks for coming on Sidebar.
Man, that rings a bell.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jesse.
There's like a Dan Bongino, a Dan Mangino, and now a Matt Mangino. Oh, man, I'm losing it.
So before we start, let me go forward a little bit further into what Newsom said. He said, quote, like millions of Americans, I have been horrified at the images of migrants being shipped on buses and planes across the country to be used as political props. Clearly, transporting families, including children, across state lines under false pretenses is morally reprehensible, but it also may be illegal. Is this illegal, Matt?
Are they criming?
Well, Jesse, if you look at the federal kidnapping statute,
I swear this is HD. I think he's just phasing in from a decade ago or something. I don't know what's wrong with this feed.
it talks about abducts, seizes, carries away. So these immigrants are being, against their will or under false pretenses, being put on a plane or a bus and being transported to places that are not prepared to handle their particular situation. You know, often at the border, you know, there's an apparatus in place to get these people through a process, begin the process of you know, possibly permitting them to enter and stay in the country. You know, that
never underestimate the power of a room with a table.
Take somebody to Martha's Vineyard is really putting somebody in a very precarious, difficult situation without any real support.
You know, and by the way, just to step back, the reason this is happening is they're trying to say to Democrats, look at what we're dealing with at the southern border. There's a crisis, a humanitarian crisis happening there. We're going to send the migrants to your location. Now you can see what we're dealing with and how are you going to equip? Because if you call it a humanitarian crisis by you, it's being, you know, kind of hypocritical because now you're putting them in a military base. You're seeing what we're dealing with. And they're trying to make a political point here. I guess the question is, does it all come down to what the migrants were told? In other words, if they're being told that they're getting on these planes or buses for work opportunities, that there's going to be something there waiting for them, and it's not, is that the central question? Because it's not as if, and nothing's come out, that they've been, you know, against their will transported to places. I think that's a key distinction.
Against their, that is a very important question. But if they were lied to, that's, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's coercion, right?
In there as well. They're voluntarily going. I guess it's just if they were promised something. And
how
does
good
it
is the
become
lie?
a question of what they were promised and how they were promised, or what they're.
Yeah, how good was the lie? If the lie was too good, they broke the law. The lie wasn't that bad or just kind of flimsy, and you know, they let the migrants' fantasies run wild. Who knows?
Right. I believe, Jesse, if they're being told something that isn't true, you know, then they're being, in a sense, coerced into going along with this idea, when in fact it's not for an employment opportunity. It's not to expedite your immigration process. It's merely to use these people as a political tool. You know.
There's the tweet. If you're on Twitter, follow me, retweet. Let's boost those numbers, chat. Let's go. Okay.
So this is really about politics, and really the most reprehensible aspect of politics, that you would take vulnerable families and children and put them on buses or planes and send them off someplace.
I think it gets worse. I have a clip. I don't know who it is. It looks like to be a lawyer. Oh gosh, it is incredible. So like we know that the cruelty is the point with conservatives often, but yo, watch, this is already at 6 million views. Posted yesterday, yo, this thing went viral. It's insane. I'm calling these people out as rainbow goblins because they're like, look, there's something at the end of the rainbow.
Right.
And of course, that's coming from the Rainbow Goblins book that we just finished reading on the subathon, which was illuminating.
Last night make it clear that they were lied to again and again.
Oh, thanks.
And fraudulently induced to board.
No, I'm trying to figure time and topic tomorrow. So if you can help me figure out, Sen, what specifically the question is, I would very much appreciate that. I understand you'll be moderating. Yeah, you're going to do a great job as neutral arbiter, you know. Cut your teeth. Get yourself a little bit of practice. Okay, so he's focused on that Keffals was being driven to unalive themselves by kiwi farms. So that's one question. And then doxing, safety, posting online. So I'm not sure what the question is there. Because for me, it's a black box. I'm not really sure how we assess whether or not Keffals was ideating about suicide. It's a non-starter. It's like literally a non-starter. It's there's no way to kind of get into that. I can't accept that as like a topic. I can talk about security and how much moral responsibility Keffals might have in protecting their online identity, being the, you know, subject of retaliation. Oh, I got lots to contend with CC. Oh yeah, he's wrong about the facts. He's wrong about like putting so much onus on Keffals, and he's like moaning right now about journalistic standards, but he hasn't done any research. Like he just hasn't done any research. It's really embarrassing. Like I'm really confused. It's because you have a hard time understanding someone disagreeing with your position. I'm actually pretty good at it. I'm quite practiced at listening, understanding someone's perspective, and then saying it back to them to make sure they can confirm for me that I did understand it. That's like a really crucial point. And hopefully I repeat that and do that. Because otherwise you get that really awkward ladder effect where each person's talking past each other. I hate that stuff. This is really crazy though.
Arrived last night make it clear that they were lied to again and again and fraudulently induced to board the planes. They were told there was a surprise present for them and that there would be jobs and housing awaiting for them when they arrived. This was obviously a sadistic lie. Not only did those responsible for this stunt know that there was no housing and no employment awaiting the migrants, they also very intentionally chose not to call ahead to any single office authority on Martha's Vineyard so that even the most basic human needs arrangements could be made. Ensuring that no help awaited the migrants at all was the entire point. They were provided with a cartoonishly simple map of Martha's Vineyard and the United States and a brief brochure containing snippets from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts website and instructions to change their address with
Good to establish what both of you disagree. That's what I'm trying to do right now in DMs.
USC.
Yeah, no, Sen, that's exactly what I'm trying to do in DMs right now. Yeah.
CIS when they relocated. This is especially troubling as anyone with even the most basic understanding of the immigration proceedings knows that USCIS was not the agency with whom the migrants would have to record their addresses and has nothing to do with their cases in any way. It is clear that this was an intentional attempt to ensure that these migrants were removed in absentia when they failed to change their address with the proper agency. This was a purposeful derailment designed to prevent people from complying with federal immigration policy.
Isn't this like wild? It's like so Kafka-esque, eh? Like just make sure you go to this special place somewhere.
This is problematic because the state should not be interfering with federal immigration policy. Before they boarded the planes, the migrants were processed by agents of the Department of Homeland Security, who listed false falsified addresses on the migrants' paperwork.
Sorry, say that again? DHS did what now? They straight up lied on official documentation? Excuse me? What?
Agents apparently chose random homeless shelters.
Okay. Random homeless shelters. That makes a lot of sense.
All across the country, from Washington to Florida, to list the migrants' mailing addresses. Even when told by the migrants that they had no address in the U.S. According to the paperwork provided to them, the migrants are required to check in with ICE office nearest to the fake address chosen for them by DHS or be permanently removed from the United States, with some required to check in as early as this coming Monday. It could not be clearer that this is an attempt to ensure that these people are ordered removed, even as they try as hard as they can to comply with the instructions provided to them. There is no other reason to list as someone's mailing address a homeless shelter in Tacoma, Washington.
Isn't this wild? Just some random homeless shelter. I'm dead. Like, I cannot even process. How do you get there? How do you get to that conclusion? As for a question, I told them it's a non-starter. The whether Keffals is being driven to do the thing. Like, I'm just like, I'm not going to engage with that. I think it's it's not for us to say. It's kind of way too private. But the second one about security and OPSEC, or like OPSEC, is interesting. So I asked, is it okay that Keffals is live streaming given that she has been the victim of swatting and doxing? And I think that question, A, sets up just some basic facts. Like, if he agrees to this question, then we can all like move forward with our lives that, yes, Keffals was the victim of swatting, and doxing, which is pretty clear in terms of evidence. And then all the moral questions can follow from there. And that might be an interesting discussion. I don't know. What do you think?
When they ship him to Massachusetts, it is sickeningly cruel, throwing obstacles in the way of people fleeing violence and oppression, some of whom walked through 10 countries in the hopes of finding safety. It is shameful and inhuman. Many of these victims were deprived of medical care despite clear existing injuries.
Sheesh.
These are human beings who were deprived of basic human rights. To the people who find themselves, these wonderful people who find themselves plane wrecked on our island, I have a message for all of them. You are not alone. We have your backs.
Go.
We are proud to be here for you. And we've got you. If the intention of those who perpetrated this horrendous act was to create a crisis, you have failed. Their demeanor is kind, their demeanor is grateful, and their demeanor is just that they want to be doing everything right.
She's like this spitting image of righteous anger. She's holding in so much rage. So much rage right now. It is honestly quite the spectacle. Like, kudos to her.
Their biggest concern today is that many of them have dates to appear in San Antonio Monday morning, Tacoma, Washington Monday morning, Washington, D.C. Monday morning. You tell me how that's possible.
We will be exploring all civil and criminal legal options to hold the perpetrators accountable and to prevent this injustice from repeating itself.
Yeah, isn't that wild? I can't get over this story. It's wild. It's way out there. Yeah, whatever you thought it was, turns out it was worse. DeSantis sent a videographer because he was trying to make an audition tape for the presidency. Okay. It's not going to stop. Oh boy. All right, so it looks like this is an ongoing story. Let's go back to the law and crime just to see if there's any... Oh, actually, that got kind of boring. Let's see here. ABC News got the same scoop. Let's see it.
Nearly 50 migrants arrived in
Whoa, ABC News doing it TikTok style. Holy shit.
Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts on Wednesday after Florida Governor Ron DeSantis paid for their flight to get there. This morning, Texas Governor Greg Abbott sent roughly 100 migrants to the front steps of Vice President Harris's Naval Observatory. Let's get into it. At around 3:15 on Wednesday, Governor DeSantis flew 2 planes full of migrants from San Antonio, Texas, over to Martha's Vineyard, making a few stops along the way. It has not yet been confirmed where the migrants were coming from. Jeff Freeman, the director of the Martha's Vineyard Airport, told ABC News that no one on the island was informed about the arriving flights, and that no one really knew about it until after the fact. But there were prearranged vans waiting for the migrants at the airport. Massachusetts State Representative Dylan Fernandez, whose district includes Martha's Vineyard, tweeted that the island came together, providing meals and beds to support the migrants. Armando Torres Garcia is down at the border right now and can give us a little more context on why this is happening and what it could mean as we inch closer to the midterms. Armando?
Hey, Ella, yes, it's different efforts by different governors to make a political statement, but to also ease the strain on their border communities. Governor Ducey busing migrants to D.C., Governor Abbott to D.C., New York City, and Chicago.
It's crazy. Like, one of the reasons I'm interested in this is seeing, like, the mealy-mouthed reporters talk around it. Like, oh yeah, they're just sending migrants. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What do you mean they are sending? Like, come on, unpack that.
Advocates all the while say that they're just using migrants as pawns in their political agenda. But here at the Rio Grande, the stakes could not be higher. Migrants are increasingly losing their lives trying to cross into the United States. But this river right here, it's a reminder of the dangers that they face, of course. It's why CBP says that it's way too dangerous to try to cross this river, but it's also a reminder of the dangers that they are fleeing, which are much greater than the river and its undercurrent right here. We can expect that as the midterms ramp up, the governors...
I mean, you can, like, what's a river to cartels, you know?
Are also going to ramp up their efforts.
Pretty scary shit.
All the while, they continue to rail against what they call President Biden's failed immigration agenda.
Biden's failed agenda, everybody. Oh man, the slant is incredible. All right, let's not do ABC again. Let's see. Ooh, this should be good. There's a Meet the Press. We're only gonna do the migrants.
If it's Thursday, human beings being used as political pawns in the political fight over border security. Florida's governor, which does not touch the border, sends 2 plane loads of migrants to Martha's Vineyard. As the Texas governor...
All right, we're going to skip ahead.
For much of the media, and of course, you'll see the fundraising emails tonight based on what members of the media or politicians said about their actions. So it's a fundraising ploy. And it's all due to treating people as political pawns, leaving some migrants who might have been misled to believe they were going up.
Absolutely not, he says. You made the claim. I think you should be able to back that up. Also, we can talk about things that aren't and are leading people to ideas of self-harm, especially if people are making the claim that it is, and we chat about that. And yeah, B would be a fun one. I'm just going to tell him that there are claims built in that are easily defendable. Recommend you check out... I mean, Jesus, what do I tell him? What do I tell him? Check out the London Police Service's, like, statement saying, hey, guys, this was swatting. Like, God damn it. God damn it. Like, do we really have to go that far back? Oh, boy.
Elsewhere, as reported by NPR, on a literal island that doesn't have any infrastructure designed to help them at all. In a word, it's inhumane. Bottom line, a grand bargain on immigration has eluded politicians for nearly a generation because of politics, pure and simple. And when neither party has the will to get things done, we're left with a broken system and politicians like Ron DeSantis deciding to govern by cruel memes. And right now, he thinks he's being rewarded for it. I'm joined now by 2 of my NBC News colleagues who report on 2 sides of this story very closely. Our Homeland Security correspondent, Julia Ainsley.
Okay, what's a different question? So let's say he does not agree that Keffals has been the victim of swatting and doxing, which... How? Let's say we have to back up and prove that claim, which should be pretty quick and easy. I need 2 pieces of evidence. London Police Service's statement, which I just told him to check out, and doxing, which is pretty clear from all the coverage on it. I mean, that's literally the whole story behind Kiwi Farms. So I'm really confused on that one. So where do we start? Was Keffals, like, I'm confused now. I'm confused. Like, we're in different realities. Different facts. Yeah, like we have to clear this up
owns the
first.
Florida beat for us. But Julia, let me start with the current situation. How did the governor of Florida order migrants in Texas to land in the state of Massachusetts?
Yeah, exactly. It seems like he definitely would have had to have some coordination with Texan Governor Abbott. That seems very likely in this case. They also came through Lackland Air Force Base, we understand, right outside of San Antonio. So begs the question, was the federal government not alerted if they're able to use an Air Force base to transport these people? And it also definitely makes a well-deserved fact check for what the Governor DeSantis said right there, saying that this is not a sanctuary state, when in fact we know many Cubans can come there, do stay, as you pointed out, obviously for political reasons, and that he's not actually taking migrants out of the state of Florida in the first place. They're out of the state of Texas. We understand from Lackland Air Force Base, they did go to Florida, then to Charlotte, North Carolina, then all the way up to Martha's Vineyard, a long journey. And some of them might have been deceived. Some may have thought they were going to a different place, as NPR reported. We also understand from attorneys who have talked to these migrants on the ground, that they thought they were going to a place where they could get a job, that this would be the place for them. Of course, it's very hard to be going in to a tourist destination at the end of a tourist season.
What's the status that Venezuelans have right now in America? Because there's been some, do they have temporary protected status or not?
Well, not for those who have recently entered. That's not the way temporary protected status works. It sets a date and time and says anyone who's here now can have it. The thing is, though, Venezuelans are not what they call amenable to Title 42, meaning they cannot use those COVID-19 restrictions to push Venezuelans back into Mexico. Mexico won't
So that's
take
why they
them.
weren't sent out of the country.
Exactly.
He chose not to send them out of the country because they're Venezuelan.
Right, because and Mexico won't take them back because they can't be deported to Venezuela. So there are certain nationalities, Venezuelans, Cubans, Haitians in large part, and Nicaraguans too, that simply can't be pushed back. They stay in the country, and it's even more of a draw for them to come. Also keep in mind, they're escaping desperate situations in Venezuela.
Mark Caputo, I want to get to the Florida side of this. First of all, there's a question about whether the governor followed the law he got passed, which gave him the financial ability to pay for these flights, because it was supposed to take illegal immigrants out of the state of Florida. Now, I guess this plane technically touched down in Florida, and perhaps that's their fig leaf here, but is it clear that he followed the law?
Well, the budget proviso, as it were, the budget language specifically says they're using COVID relief money for this program, by the way. It's $12 million total budget
The
for the
interest
program.
on COVID relief money, I believe, technically, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it
They're using public funds to crime?
it is migrants, I think it's unauthorized aliens is the exact phrase, from this state. So yes, it looks like DeSantis might have imported unauthorized aliens, to use the term budget, in order to then export them to Martha's Vineyard. His team is not making much secret of this, at least privately. Yeah, they totally admit this is a troll. He's going to troll his way possibly to the White House if Trump doesn't run, because it's the stuff that makes Republican hearts go pitter-patter. But the reality is DeSantis was in Congress when the bipartisan immigration bill passed the Senate and died in the House, and he didn't do anything about that. So he did have an opportunity to weigh in on immigration in Congress and didn't take that opportunity.
Mark, let me ask you this. Walk me through, you were on top of this when it happened. His lieutenant governor, Jeanette Nunez, had said, we're shipping anybody out, including Cubans. And then all of a sudden, there was an uproar. And I believe the governor there spoke incorrectly about Florida's not a sanctuary state. Well,
of course there was an uproar from the Cuban community in Florida.
Well, I guess it depends on your perspective. If you're a Cuban, it is.
Sheesh.
Well, it's technically they're following the Cuban Adjustment Act. So if you're Cuban and your foot hits U.S. soil, you can plead asylum and more easily get in the country. So yeah, de facto, Miami has been a sanctuary city for Cuban migrants and really migrants from around Latin America, especially Venezuela, Nicaragua, and the like.
Odd term, sanctuary city, man. Like, oh man, oh jeez, you can feel the empire starting to break up. You can just see the cracks.
The sentiment has changed, though.
In the language.
Donald Trump won a very large share of Latino communities' votes, including Venezuelans, even though he did nothing about TPS, which we just spoke about a second ago. Joe Biden actually did. But if you talk to people in the Venezuelan community, in the Cuban community, Honduran, Nicaraguan, you'll actually hear them say, look, there are a lot of their fellow Honduran, Cuban, Nicaraguan, Venezuelan, Colombian American neighbors who, once they got their TPS, their green cards, their citizenship, became far less interested in their fellow man getting it as well. So it's been
what's that background noise? What the hell?
The history of immigrant communities in the United States. Sure. Once you get here to draw up the bridge, and that exists in the Venezuelan community here as well as the other.
His foot is tapping, and so his microphone is rubbing up against his shirt. Oh my goodness.
I remember this during the so-called Mariolito boat lift, and there were Cubans versus Cubans on that down in South Florida. But is there any political risk here by him being so? I mean, again, this is a guy who rails against socialism. These are people fleeing socialism. Pure and simple. Are we no longer going to be a sanctuary for those fleeing socialism?
Where's the socialism?
Good question.
Let me add
We'll have to see. There's no estimate about the number of Venezuelan voters. There's 14 million registered voters in Florida. Probably the best unofficial estimate.
So insane how American news turns this into a political question and not a moral question. Like, bro. They're like scraping the bottom of like humanity and like God, what's his stupid name? What's the host name? Why am I blanking on this? Oh, it doesn't even say his name. Where is it? Whoa, isn't that odd? They don't have the host's name in the description? Bro. Anyways.
Is 50 to 60,000 Venezuelans. But, Juan Escalante, who's an immigration rights advocate, has TPS as Venezuelan. He had coined the term Magazuelans. To describe that aspect or that group of Venezuelans in the Miami community who are firmly in the Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis camp. I'm not sure what sort of risk it has. This is how politics unfolds. Let's see what Charlie Crist, his Democratic opponent, does with it.
Well, that will be fascinating to watch on that front. Very quickly, Julia, I want to bring up one point that Governor DeSantis made in that same press conference. We played a clip from it. He said, this is no different than when the federal government takes migrants and spreads them around the country. What say you?
That is different.
Okay.
That is because when the federal government takes migrants, they're moving them to places like detention centers. It's coordinated. If they're moving them to another city, the migrant has paid or their family has paid for their transportation because they're often, most of the people who come here have family in the United States. They're going to stay with relatives and sponsors until their immigration dates. So this is very different, especially with the fact that they are not coordinating with these cities and states so that they're purposefully caught by surprise in a chaotic situation without anyone to care for them.
A perfect transition for my next guest. Julia and Mark, thank you both for your reporting. And joining me now is Massachusetts State Representative Dylan Fernandez. Dylan Fernandez represents Martha's Vineyard as well as Nantucket and parts of Cape Cod in his state House district there. And Representative Fernandez joins me now. Really appreciate you giving me a few minutes. Let me just start simply with the well-being of the migrants. What is the status today? And have they all chosen to stay in the facilities that have been provided for them, or are some of them leaving?
Sure. So as soon as these immigrants arrived, our island jumped into action, providing people with the...
That's the other arc of this that is kind of fascinating, is that like the right wing used humans as pawns in a political argument, and then the left wing embraced them and gave them food and shelter. I think there's some sort of biblical parable going on here somewhere. The good, oh good Samaritan? Oh geez, what's it called?
Beds, the healthcare, the food, shelter, everything that they needed. We even set up a play area for the children that were shipped here. And we have immigration attorneys who are Spanish speaking, working with everyone on their immigration claims. So right now, everyone is in good shape. Currently, they're housed at a parish in Edgartown. This is only a temporary solution. This is where we have our wintertime homeless shelter. It doesn't have the facilities for the amount of people that are here. So we're working with our state and federal partners on a more permanent solution.
What do you know about their journey? What have you learned from conversations perhaps with these immigration lawyers that are now having conversations? You know, what?
Somebody tweeted out Sarah Jong. She said, if I wanted to be cruel to a bunch of powerless people, I would probably not send them to Lawyer Island. I mean, it's called Martha's Vineyard. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just a bunch of lawyers and like rich, well-to-do folk. Lawyer Island. Oh my God.
What were they told when they got on this plane?
They were told they were spun a bunch of lies. They were told that they would be met here by people giving them jobs and housing. Some of them were told they were going to New York. Others it appears were told that they were headed towards immigration meetings. And they showed up with absolutely no notice. But this is an island community. This is a state that immediately sprang into action to get these people the resources and help that they need.
What has this incident taught you, or has it taught you anything? And what does it make you think of our national political debate these days?
Well, look, you know, these immigrant families, women, children, are being used as political pawns. The governor of Florida, one of the largest states in the United States, is spending his time not helping the people of Florida and the many issues that need help in Florida, but instead spending his time hatching a secretive plot to say.
He's hatching the plots, everybody. It's like true, I don't know, antagonism, like true antagonist. He's the villain of the story, hatching plots.
And wild women, children, immigrant families here, also that he can get a couple minutes on Tucker Carlson and Fox News, and you know, bang his chest about being tough on immigration. Right. There is nothing tough about using women and children for your own political gain. Governor DeSantis is a coward. He is weak. And you know, what gives me hope here is how quickly this island community rallied, how quickly the state rallied to support these incredibly vulnerable people that are here, coming in to meet every need that they have. That is what makes this country great. That is what makes this community great. And I couldn't be prouder to be from here.
I want to confirm, were all these migrants Venezuelan? Most of them? Do you have a full count?
So there's 48 people who got off the plane. It's my understanding that nearly all of them are Venezuelan, right. but cannot confirm that exactly.
Well, we're going to delve into the fact that these are folks that are escaping socialism. And Governor DeSantis chose not to worry about that, but I am curious.
Man, really hitting that point, eh? Is Governor DeSantis pro-socialism?
Given perhaps,
so stupid.
I see Ted Cruz is talking about creating a new port of entry in Martha's Vineyard. And my point is this, Representative Fernandez, there are going to be politicians on the right that view this as, oh, this was great. Look at the attention he got. More of this, more fundraising on Fox or whatever it is. Is Martha's Vineyard prepared for more planes?
I mean, look, here's what I can tell you is that we are an immigrant community. We have a vibrant immigrant population here. We always have. 20% of the students in our public schools are English language learners. Over a third of our public schools here are students who are non-white. We have a vibrant immigrant population here. And look, immigration is a federal issue that needs to be solved federally. But what I can tell you is that this is a welcoming community. This is a community that prides itself on the diversity that immigration brings here, and that as long as people here, we're gonna make sure that they are treated with the dignity and respect that they deserve.
Now, these folks are not detained people. If they choose to leave, they can. Are you going to, if they would like to go to Florida, for instance, because, you know, my guess is many of them, being Venezuelan, they may have a family member or somebody, a friend of a family in there, and that's a place they can find shelter. If they come to you or come to the state and say, hey, we'd like to get down to South Florida, are you guys going to facilitate that transportation?
We're working all of that out right now. I mean, look, this is, you know, not even 24 hours. Next step is dinner, right?
Of course.
For these folks. And then we're working towards a longer term solution for a facility for people here long term. The facilities here are not adequate, but we're working on that really rapidly. You know, that is, we're going through everyone individually with a team of Spanish speaking immigration attorneys here to work through each person's individual claim.
Whoa, are they treating them like people? Like actual individuals that have specific needs that require specific like resolutions? What's going on here? What the hell is this?
Individual.
This so-called bleeding heart syndrome I've been warned about.
Case. And then from there, you know, we're going to respond to their needs.
Massachusetts State Representative Dylan Fernandez, when you ran for this office, I'm guessing this is not an issue you expected to be dealing with in your district. Appreciate you coming on and sharing your experience with us.
That smile, man.
In your district, appreciate you coming on and
there's a bit of like frustration leaking through there, just like. Man.
And sharing your experience with us.
Man. Okay, that was what I was hoping to find in here. Someone who can tell us about what it's like on the ground, what's happening, but not so close to the ground that we can't like have an understanding of how things are playing out. Let's see a bit. This broke, I think, this morning, and it's President Biden being asked point blank about...
At a press event on Thursday, President Biden gave remarks about a tentative deal to avert a rail strike. After his remarks, the president was asked about migrants being sent to Martha's Vineyard and Washington, D.C. Around 50 migrants arrived in Martha's Vineyard Wednesday after being flown to the affluent Massachusetts Island resort by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. This was part of a larger effort by Republican governors to send large numbers of undocumented immigrants to Democrat-run cities. The president ignored the question.
I want to thank you all for getting this done, both business and labor. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and may God protect our troops. Thank you so much.
May God protect our troops.
Mr. President, when will the railway bring back online? Mr. President, reaction to...
Mr. President. Okay, so that wasn't that good. Womp womp. All right, we got some right-wing sources, if you can stomach it. We got Gutfeld and Ben Shabibo. Let's start with Gutfeld. This is from this morning.
Story in 5 words.
Let's see how Republicans spin their abject cruelty after it's completely exploded in their face and the libs showed themselves to be normal, compassionate human beings. This should be good.
A story in 5 words. Newsom says immigrants are kidnapped. Katie, this is so awesome. Governor Newsom asked the DOJ to look into whether sending migrants to other parts of the country can be considered kidnapping. What do you think? A, is he a
yeah.
B, is he really a and C, A and B?
This is hilarious. Like, you want them to investigate kidnapping?
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
It's the best.
Also, if you're going to investigate DeSantis for kidnapping, you have to investigate Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas, DHS secretary, because they've been flying illegal immigrants to cities across the country for a year and a half in the middle of the night and dropping them off and busing them wherever they want to go. So if DeSantis is engaged in kidnapping, so are these other folks. It's just that DeSantis and Greg Abbott, for example, are bringing this out in the light for everybody to see. And it's amazing to watch the way this works, right? the left does something. So they fly illegal immigrants to all these places around the country that are not Martha's Vineyard, because that's a very fancy, swanky Democrat vacation spot. That's not allowed. They want them to come to your backyard, not their front yard. Then the right does the same thing. And it's like, oh, that's the moral, very kind thing to do. So
okay, straight up at this point, I'm just feeding critical Canadian the most barest, basic of facts. He's like, literally, what's the evidence it came from Kiwi Farms? Just like, Jesus, dude, you haven't done any work into this.
Going to just hold you to your own standard and send people to Martha's Vineyard. And then today, they deported them all. The 50 illegal immigrants, they deported them off of Martha's Vineyard after claiming it was inhumane to ship them there in the first place.
Incredible.
So now they're shipping them somewhere else.
Yeah, with their consent. With their consent, lady. And they know what they're going to find when they get at the other end. Like, come on. Oh, boy, man. Jeez.
So it's like the right just follows, and then they are like, how did this happen? This is a horrible idea. Where did you get it from?
You
guys. You're the ones who did this.
It is so, Kat, I love this story more and more every day because they get angrier and more hysterical about this because they've been found out. They didn't have a solution. They willfully ignored solutions on immigration, and now they're caught flat-footed, and they're...
Aha, we got him. We got him, everybody. The libs never really expected this sort of immigration.
Like, ah!
You know, the criminal variety. Wow, that was a little unhinged.
And now they're caught flat-footed, and they're like, ah! It's like... We're like, ah! It's great. I enjoy it.
Right,
and that's not even a question.
I'm glad you're having a good time.
I'm glad you're having a good time, too. You're clearly in control.
I feel like we're never going to solve immigration because whenever immigration's in the news, it's some variation of, you suck, no, you suck.
She's doomer-pilled. Man, I wonder where all this bad faith argumentation is coming from.
And it's like, you never hear from Congress on how you're actually going to solve it because it's a federal issue that has to be solved with the federal government. And I haven't heard them say anything. Yeah. It's just the way they did this was bad. Well, you did this that was bad. We're just never going to solve it. It obviously needs to be addressed.
I think this made progress because it made it clear to everybody two things. One, that it's not being solved, and two, the only reason why you didn't know about it before is because the media had a thumb on its scale. They never reported the late night stuff except for the New York Post. And then what you see on CNN, which was hilarious, they compared the 50 migrants escaping Venezuela and being placed in a wonderful place, Martha's Vineyard. They compared it to the Holocaust.
I mean...
I thought CNN was moving to the middle, but I guess it was the middle of hell.
Yikes. Oh,
yes, and I love your argument, by the way, because
this is like the bad place, man.
Taking it a step further, the fact that Biden and everyone did it with minors on board just makes it an enhanced felony. Right. It'd actually be like more on the hook than Gavin Newsom is advocating. Dude,
Biden
is the worst to ever do it. He wants them to use RICO.
Yeah.
That's what you use for the mafia. That's for organized crime. He called it a...
Yeah, that should be what we call a shot across the bow.
Fraudulent scheme. What do you call the southern border? This guy, meanwhile, in his own state, homicides, his attorney general just released these stats. Homicides have massively spiked. We all knew this. And yet homicide arrests have decreased. So I think he should focus.
Man, it sounds like the police aren't doing their job, eh? I heard for the first time ever, they dip below 50% success rate across the country as an average in terms of solving murder crimes. Like, I'll see if I can pull that up, but it was like an astounding stat.
We're talking about criminal charges that should be brought on his own citizens rather than the 50 that were dropped off on some luxury island somewhere.
Yeah, they're so stupid, Tyrus. Just the response.
Yeah, check this out. This is wild. Wild. And Biden is like, we don't need to defund the police. We need to fund the police. As murder spiked, police solved about half in 2020 at a historic low. Yeah. So, not really sure what police are doing anymore at this point.
Response to this, I cannot express the joy that I feel watching these meltdowns.
Oh, I was offended.
Yes.
I'm upset.
Yeah.
The idea of sending 50 to Martha's Vineyard, how dare you?
Yeah.
That's like shame on all of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, 50 is not a big number. It's just such a small number. It's just a number, guys.
250's the number. Like 250 is the number.
Called it.
Listen, I know you like reality shows. I have a phenomenal one. A trip on a bus with Tyrus. I will pick you up in El Paso and take you to any blue city you want to go. And you can film the
Yeah, sounds like with people's consent.
whole thing.
I think it always comes down to like they really struggle with this whole concept of consent.
We will stop at every mayor, governor, house, anything with a donkey. We will stop and take pictures. It'll be phenomenal, and I'll drop you off. And just the kidnapping thing, are you out of your mind? It's filmed when they get on, and they're getting on like this.
Yeah, that's the face of someone who has no idea what they're heading into.
And they're getting off like this.
It's so...
Bro.
So I have never been kidnapped for obvious reasons.
Yikes.
I don't think anyone coming back from kidnapping was like, how was it?
It's so true.
I've never been kidnapped either, and I'm like, is there something wrong with me?
Yep.
Is there
Oh, wait, what? Did she just say?
True.
I've never been kidnapped either, and I'm like, is there something wrong with me?
What? No, you did not just say that.
Yep.
You did not just say. That's what I call insecurity. Somebody who's like, nobody's kidnapped me. Is that because I'm not pretty enough? Yikes, lady.
Is there anyone in Ottawa available for a kidnapping?
Don't egg on the kidnapping of Cat Temp.
Yeah, come on, let's have some respect.
Oh, that's a great name of a Fox Nation show.
Yeah.
The kidnapping of Cat Temp. It would be hosted with Nancy Grace.
Oh, I would love that.
Where did last time we saw Cat Temp? She was.
Is there something wrong with her? No, she's just a Fox News host.
No,
I would love that.
I would hate it because they would blame
I would
me.
love that.
They
Imagine.
would 1,000% blame me.
I would pin
Imagine
it on
the
you.
attention I would get.
It really brings me joy to watch like one of the most cruel and inhumane things, sending humans to another random place they've never been, on a bed of lies, and then it blows up in the conservatives' face, and then they have to try to like spin it, and because it's a late night talk show, it's all like, upbeat vibe, and how do you do, and but the subject content is so dark.
That dog ain't gonna hunt. I think she's DOA.
Also, how's it going? 251
Up
Bella?
next, you'll get treated to the jokes we reheated.
Sounds like microwave comedy. My word, y'all need to do some stand up or something, like some kind of. Sheesh, that was bad. Okay, what else do we got? I got a little palate cleanser from Kelly Russell Agodin. By writing poetry, even those poems that fail and fail miserably, we honor and affirm life. We say, we love the earth but could not stay. Ted Cruz. So good. So good. Okay, let's listen to Ben Shabibo. He's asking, 50 people is a humanitarian crisis? It's only 50.
Well, if it isn't the consequences of our own lawn signs.
Oh man, this is just incredible. I just wrote a poem this week for the first time in 30 years. Oh, good for you. That's awesome. That's great. I hope you write more. Keep writing.
It's pretty much what is happening right now in American politics as people all over blue cities are just screaming into the atmosphere about the fact that some illegal immigrants are now being sent from deep red areas where the border is open, thanks to President Biden, to deep blue areas that are very, very far away from that border where they really, really like open borders. Right?
See the framing now? Yeah, you should keep it up. Writing is always interesting because you think it's going to go one way, and then it goes the other. And it's really hard to I don't know, like get out what you think you're trying to get out. And that's one thing I always find interesting. So yeah, awesome, great.
You'll remember that
awesome.
Around blue areas, places I used to live, places like Los Angeles, there are all these lawn signs that people love to stack, right? These are things that show just how wonderful you are because you put up a lawn sign. It doesn't actually require you to do anything, but if you put up the lawn sign, it means that you're a better person than your neighbors.
True.
And if you don't put up the lawn sign, well, then you are some sort of evil conservative monster. And it's lawn signs that say things like, in this house, we believe Black Lives Matter. Women's rights are human rights. No human is illegal. Science.
Yeah, you can definitely like drive down an American street and be like, Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Independent. Yeah, it's like a river.
Is real. Love is love. Kindness is everything. Water is wet. And all this kind of stuff, right? These lawn signs are the great marker that if, God forbid, there's a race riot, you shouldn't have your house broken into. Or if God forbid, there is some sort of huge illegal immigration crisis, you can be counted on not to actually do anything of use, but at least you will express your deep, deep sympathies. So all these folks have these lawn signs, and then it turns out that if illegal immigrants arrive on their actual lawn, they're like, well, or they will give a little.
They fed and clothed them and found them lawyers. What do you mean, well, Ben Shabibo? They did the thing. They did empathy.
A little bit. And then they will say, look what heroes we are for having done this for 5 seconds while we...
So they're like, oh, now they're minimizing the good they did because it's not kept up lifelong because they don't live near a border. Like, I can't even make sense of the logic anymore.
Foisted this sort of policy in the thousands, the tens of thousands, the hundreds of thousands on our fellow Americans. Those lawn signs, they really make people feel good on the inside, but they are really just a shield so that you don't have to do much. And when you're called on to do a lot, when you're called on to do nearly anything, then all of a sudden, all of that goes away, and it's NIMBYism up and down the block. Then all of a sudden, all of those lawn signs go away, and what replaces them is the neighborhood watch sign. Because as it turns out, people don't like the consequences of their own lawn signs. They don't like them at all. The consequences of their lawn signs require them to do things. And that's
like feed and clothe and house and provide free legal services to random people who showed up, who were lied to. Yeah, gosh, dang. Consequences of our own actions. Hey, everybody. Oh, jeez. Imagine saying you would help people and then actually helping people. Golly gee, what a bunch of libs.
Not what the left is all about. That's not what these lawn sign virtue signalers are all about. They're about making you do things. And so there is great irony to the hue and cry that is now being heard from top to bottom in the Democratic Party about Ron DeSantis sending like 50 illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard. Martha's Vineyard has a population of some 20,000 people. It's like 50 people. I mean, the notion that this is going to sink Martha's...
It's just 50 people, everybody.
Vineyard is entirely insane.
No biggie.
And it's especially insane given the fact that we have been told that the border is closed. I mean, I don't even know. Why is there a crisis? Is there a crisis? How could there be a crisis?
Oh, man.
It is currently Friday. Just last Sunday, Kamala Harris, the wisest, fairest, and most immortal of all beings, she actually said on Meet the Press that our border is completely secure in the sense that we have a border and borders should be secure. So they're completely, I mean, this was Kamala Harris, the vice president of the United States, who we know is well qualified for her position specifically because she's a black woman. So, I mean, there is no greater recommendation of high qualification than that. So here's Kamala Harris, our extraordinarily competent vice president, who's been put in charge of the border, but still has not visited, explaining that the border is secure just on Sunday. But it seems like the border isn't so secure. But here she is. So who do I believe?
All right. Okay, Ben. Okay, Ben Shabibo. There's only so much of it I could take. I don't know how Hassan watches hours of this stuff, but I guess he's got a huge community that's like firing off on all cylinders. I kind of wanted to turn to the debate prep. I wanted to go over some of the basic facts for the Kiwi Farms debate. I really want to make sure that when I debate CC tomorrow that it's about opinions and not facts, and he doesn't seem to know some of the more basic pieces of information. So, for instance, I backed up the very basic points that Keffals was a victim of doxing and swatting, and he's like, prove it. I'm like, okay, sure. Sent him 2 links, and then he didn't acknowledge that I just confirmed the claim. He just made another question, which was, well, how do we know Kiwi Farms did it? I'm like, bro, really? So I sent him another link, which is like Cloudflare specifically saying Kiwi Farms is advancing threats that are threatening human life. And he hasn't responded. So I figure we'll go over some of the basic facts myself because I hadn't actually specifically read that statement word for word. I knew it was true, but in a vague sense. So it was good practice for me to sort of go over the story. So I think we'll switch over to the Keffals story. We'll do it from the ground up because it should be interesting that way to revisit. I think CTV got the first scoop. It's a Canadian story, so it's like, just like it's interesting in terms of let's see here. Prominent, this is City News. Global News got the scoop. That's what it was. It was Global News. So this was the first national news outlet to pick this story up. Sensitive content, trigger warning.
Clara Sorrenti says a false email with her address was sent to London City Council claiming she had killed her mother and was intending to shoot people at City Hall who were straight. The email, Sorrenti says, had given out her real address and resulted in police with guns at her doorstep and her being arrested.
When I went into the hallway and then saw that assault rifle, I screamed and I thought I was going to die.
London Police Service confirmed the arrest to Global News. They added Sorrenti was released without charges and they are continuing to analyze her electronic devices, but could not offer any more information. Sorrenti says the hate she's been facing is because of her prominence as a trans woman and activist.
They want me dead because I'm a high-profile transgender activist. There's a big target on my back, and for the past year, transgender people have been at the focal point of a culture war.
It's not just the doxing, but Sorrenti takes issue with London Police Service's handling of the incident. Evidence bags she showed Global News indicates police use her dead name, the birth name she had before transitioning, which is considered highly offensive. She also claims police asked her if she was a she and to explain dead naming.
The way that I was treated by the police really showed me they know nothing about transgender people or issues.
Police told Global News that this is an active investigation, but despite being a prominent name online and having run for office provincially and federally, Sorrenti thinks police's actions are driven by ignorance.
So I had a hate crime perpetrated against me, and instead of the police helping me, they victimized me for it.
As for the trolls and hate mongers, Sorrenti says she remains undeterred.
I'm not backing down. I know that the work I do is incredibly valuable, and thousands of trans people have told me that. I have people almost every day saying they came out to their families because of me. And if they want me to stop, the next time they better manipulate the police into pulling the trigger.
Amar Khan, Global News.
Okay, so that was the original piece. I think there was a longer one from City News. Here we go. Which also covered some of Keffals' live stream.
Officers. One of them was kneeling, holding a riot shield with an assault rifle perched on top of it, pointed at me. They pulled me out into the hallway and arrested me, telling me that I was under arrest for threats as well as possession of an illegal firearm.
This is Clara Sorrenti. She's a lifelong London, Ontario resident, and she makes her living streaming on Twitch to over 43,000 followers, with over 100,000 followers on Twitter under the name Keffals. She's best known for her passionate activism for trans rights, debunking common anti-trans talking points live online. But it may have been her activism that led to someone impersonating her in an email to London police and politicians threatening.
I had my identity stolen and I was swatted, and the way that it was crafted ended up bringing out the prejudice in some of the police officers in London Police Service.
Throughout questioning, London police officers used Sorrenti's former name, a practice known as dead naming among trans people. Sorrenti legally changed her name over a decade ago and has even run for parliament under her current name, making the experience especially frustrating.
I don't understand the thought process because my fiance was saying they were banging on the door saying, Clara Sorrenti, I know you're in there. But I got booked under my dead name.
In a statement issued Tuesday, London Police Chief Steve Williams acknowledged the distress caused by this and says what happened will be reviewed but didn't apologize. Sorrenti says the police hate crime unit told her Tuesday that property seized during the raid will be returned, but there's still questions of how this happened, especially as Sorrenti had previously been doxxed and asked to be placed on a police no swatting list.
That's the part that's crazy.
They just told me there was no such thing in London as a no swatting list, and they said we would be fine and that they have to investigate matters as they're reported.
What's really interesting is that law enforcement talks about, it's important that we report incidents, hate incidents, things that don't maybe rise to the level of criminal behavior.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's interesting that our police have the powers of discretion, and then when their discretion is boneheaded, they say, well, golly gee, we've got the discretion.
So that they can establish a trajectory, so that they can establish a pattern. This seems like a classic case of that. And the fact that they were just turned away, and that threat, that risk was dismissed, I think shows a real need for a deeper understanding on the part of law enforcement there.
Now Sorrenti says she plans on moving to another Canadian city, saying she doesn't have faith that the same thing couldn't happen again in London. She notes that a similar hoax threat was made to Toronto police about her, and that was cleared up with just a phone call. As for her activism, Sorrenti says she has no plans to change.
If there are any trans people who end up listening to this, never back down, ever, because that's how people win. They wanted me to back down, so I stood up for myself. And I saw so much outpouring of support, and I'm really glad for it. And I hope that in the future, we can end up winning more fights like this.
In Ottawa, Xiaoli Lee, City News.
Bro, man, this guy, CC, man. We go back and forth on a bunch of stuff. He asked for evidence. I provided to him. He doesn't say whether he's convinced or not. And then just says, oh, whatever, make the topic whatever you want. It's just going to be a chaotic anyways. It's like, no, that's why I'm trying to pick a topic, so that it's not chaotic. It doesn't have to be that way. We can have constructive conversation online. It is possible. I swear it's possible. I've seen it. Okay, cool. We have a time. We need a topic. How to call it. And I'm just going to use the question I got. Is it okay for Keffals to be streaming if she's been the victim of doxing and swatting? Yeah. Okay, sorry, I just had to respond to that. Let's move on to the next little piece in this shit puzzle. We got ourselves a good article from The Nation. Let's call DeSantis' migrant stunt what it is: kidnapping. And it's articles like this, which is why you're seeing like, oh, we were on the Keffals thing, weren't we? Oh, geez, what's wrong with me? Sorry. I guess the next piece of information is this story and this story. So let's read this in full. This is the statement from the police chief, Steve Williams. So this is an update from the London police services after they were duped into swatting Keffals. So we're going to see exactly how they represent that situation. I'm just going to put on some background music. Okay. So let's take a look at this. As a result of further investigation, we do not believe that the threatening emails received by City Hall officials originated with Ms. Sorrenti. We believe there was a deliberate attempt by a third party to place suspicion on Ms. Sorrenti in relation to what are now believed to be false threats to harm people at City Hall. This is sometimes referred to as swatting. With this determination made, Ms. Sorrenti was released unconditionally from custody and all of her belongings have been returned to her. I have directed members of our Criminal Investigation Division to commence an investigation into the origins of the email sent to city officials, with the goal of identifying the person or persons responsible and laying the appropriate charges. As this investigation will be complex and may potentially involve multiple jurisdictions, it will take time. As this is an active, an active investigation, I'm unable to comment further on any evidence or the direction of the investigation, of course. That's like pretty common. Sorry, I'm just gotta copy a link. I can share some information regarding the initial police response to the threats received at City Hall. On Friday, August 5th at 8:30 a.m., we received a 911 call regarding a person threatening to attend City Hall to shoot people. A short time later, we received a second 911 call, questioning when officers would arrive. Threats of this nature are taken seriously by police, as I believe the public expects they would be. Responding officers conducted the initial inquiries, which culminated in their attendance at Ms. Sorrenti's residence. Officers did not conduct what is sometimes referred to as a dynamic entry into Ms. Sorrenti's residence. Rather, they knocked on the door, announced themselves as police officers, and occupants answered. Okay, that sounds a lot more toned down, but this is also coming from the police. Any attempt by uninvolved third parties to suggest otherwise is inaccurate and irresponsible, so we should be taking them at their word. Ms. Sorrenti was arrested for uttering threats based on information officers had at that time. Ms. Sorrenti was polite and cooperative. To be clear, due to the nature of the threats to shoot people, officers with specialized training and equipment were involved in the arrest. So that will, that substantiates Keffals' claims that are like, you know, she saw guns, she saw big guns. And I guess she just like, her brain freaked out. These emergency response unit officers are specially trained to peacefully resolve high-risk situations. They offer enhanced protection for the public and fellow officers, riot shields or whatever, I'm sure. In the past, officers in similar situations have been wounded or killed, or unalived, excuse me. In this case, firearms were displayed until it was determined a threat no longer existed. So actually, yeah, it does sound like Keffals had to stare down, like see guns. Like, just like big guns too, like not some handgun. I acknowledge that for the average citizen, having heavily armed police officer attend your residence would be traumatic. I understand this was a traumatic and shocking experience for Ms. Sorrenti. At the same time, the safety of our officers and members of the public cannot be compromised when responding to occurrences of this nature. I am thankful they effected the arrest without physical injury to anyone. So that sounds like he is acknowledging the mental stress while also saying they conducted themselves, you know, in an appropriate manner. The real question is that, like Keffals warned them this would happen. So that's kind of the problem. That's kind of a major problem. This brings me to allegations as to how Ms. Sorrenti was addressed. The whole woken up, oh hey, public loser, how's it going? The whole woken up doesn't necessarily mean they were in the house. Keffals, we might have missed it, but I remember coming across a larger story. I think it was the follow-up from Global News, and it was like 5 minutes long. And that explained, in that, oh, she was on the National too. Holy cow. So much coverage. Could be a knock. Yeah, it's very likely one officer knocks, and behind them there's like a cordon. You know, you got one with a shield, one with a gun. He could have had it aimed at the ground or aimed at the door. Like, I'm not really sure. From Keffals' take, it was that she saw a barrel and freaked, but still, like, they affected the arrest. And now we get into the real problem. This brings me to allegations as to how Miss Sorrenti was addressed during her time in London police custody, using an incorrect name, her dead name, and gender. While I cannot confirm any conversations which might have transpired during Miss Sorrenti's initial arrest, activity in our holding cells is monitored by audio and video equipment. At no time while she was in our holding cells did members of our police service address Miss Sorrenti by her dead name and gender. I personally reviewed the recordings and found our officers were polite, respectful, and professional. The reference to Miss Sorrenti's former name appears to stem from the existence of prior police reports. When an individual comes into contact with police for whatever reason, an entry is made into our records management system using the name provided at that time. That report is merged with prior reports, if any, involving the same person with the same date of birth. Where an individual has a change of name or has a nickname or alias, those would be linked with the primary name on file? Really? That's what I would expect, right? Like, if Keffals has gone through the trouble of running for office under her name Clara Sorrenti, you would think the police would know. Police are not normally notified when someone legally changes their name, so I guess they just didn't scrutinize the file. They might have just pulled it up and looked at the first name. It appears the bag in which Miss Sorrenti's personal property was held was labeled with her dead name for tracking purposes, and that's the piece of evidence I showed to CC to be like, yo, like, look, like here it is. I recognize that this explanation will not please everybody. No, it sounds like you guys need to do better. This situation highlights for us the need to develop a mechanism to ensure accuracy in our record keeping, recognizing that, as in Miss Sorrenti's case, anything otherwise can be hurtful and disrespectful, which is never our intent. For this, I've apologized to Miss Sorrenti. In the coming weeks, I'll ensure a solution is implemented to avoid any repeat of this type of situation in the future. Personally reached out to Miss Sorrenti this afternoon to discuss the matter and to assure that we've opened an investigation to the swatting incident. Cool. She's also been advised of the channels available should she wish to file a formal complaint through her interactions with the LPS. This is all the info I have at the matter. Okay, so that was really instructive. That helped to sort of clarify the line between Keffals' emotional response and the police's version of the events, and we could see it in the middle. You know, we can actually form a pretty clear idea of what's happening and how both were right in that situation. Keffals absolutely should be freaked the F out by people with guns showing up at her door. There's all sorts of things showing up at her door all the time, you know? But they did announce that they were police before knocking, or at least, you know, like that sounds like a Canadian police officer. But the threat towards city officers means they came equipped, and they also probably should have done their due diligence. They were warned by Keffals, who literally did her due diligence and said, yo, this could happen. So big cock up. So the way that this ends up playing out, and where I start to understand less, so I do want to kind of review this and figure it out, is what happened with Kiwi Farms. Now, I'm being pressed by CC to justify or explain how we know that Kiwi Farms did this. Shouldn't be too hard. I'm sure they admitted to it. For some reason, the quote I gave was not sufficient, which was bizarre because they're named and it specifically says threats to human life in it. Like, it's pretty clear. But we'll read through this, see if there's anything else I missed, and that should help get us totally prepped for tomorrow. 9:30 a.m. Or maybe we make it even 10? Should probably be just like 10 a.m. Nice even number. Okay, let's read this. The first line of this. On the morning of August 5th in London, Ontario, police put an assault rifle in Clara Sorrenti's face. True. Actually true. But the way they make it sound, it's like in her face instead of probably displayed or at ready. Probably at ready. Trained on the door, most likely. Sorrenti is a trans activist and Twitch streamer who provides political commentary under the handle Keffals. Earlier that morning, an impersonator had sent an email to city councilors claiming that Sorrenti had unalived her mother and would soon go to City Hall to shoot every cisgender person she saw. Quote, "When I was woken up by police officers and saw the assault rifle pointed at me, I thought I was going to die," Sorrenti later recounted in a video on YouTube. "I feel traumatized." Sorrenti was the latest victim of a vicious ongoing harassment campaign driven by Kiwi Farms, an online community known for stalking, swatting, harassing, doxing, and intimidating everyone from Gamergate targets to far-right Congress member Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh geez, only 3 sources. I wonder if that will be enough to convince CC that Kiwi Farms is behind this. Its users are known to single out transgender and neurodivergent people in particular. The site is connected to the suicides of at least 3 people who were targets of sustained harassment. Users' tactics are exhaustive. For the past decade, Kiwi Farms has operated with impunity until now. In the wake of her swatting, Sorrenti began a campaign, Drop Kiwi Farms, to sever the forum's access to digital service providers. In particular, she drew attention to its web security provider, Cloudflare. Kiwi Farms has been allowed to operate for years as a fringe site, but the campaign pushed it into the mainstream eye as Sorrenti gave countless interviews, launched a Twitter campaign, and gathered supporters to put pressure on Cloudflare. On August 31st, CEO Matthew Prince responded indirectly to the campaign with a post on Cloudflare's abuse policies. Although it did not mention Kiwi Farms, or Sorrenti specifically, Prince wrote that, quote, "Overbroad takedowns can have significant unintended impact on access to content online. Just as the telephone company doesn't terminate your line if you say awful, racist, bigoted things, we have concluded, in consultation with politicians, policymakers, and experts, that turning off security services because we think what you publish is despicable is the wrong policy." These people are organizing campaigns to get people to unalive themselves. It's a bit more than a difference of opinion, my guy. It's a little tiny bit more than that. Historically, Cloudflare has been reluctant to drop even neo-Nazi sites like the Daily Stormer, ignoring pressure from critics and claiming neutrality. It wasn't until 2017 that Cloudflare acted against the extremist site, notably after the death of Heather Heyer in Charlottesville, Virginia. In 2019, in the wake of shootings in El Paso, Texas, the company booted 8chan, a site the shooter frequented. But it took more than a single violent instance to get that response. As Prince noted at the time, 8chan members were also responsible for the terrorist attack on 2 mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand. Hey, remember that? That's where it's coming from. This is the infrastructure on the internet that allows this crazy shit to happen. If you're ever wondering, hey man, why are society having mass shooters unalive people en masse? Well, here's one piece of the puzzle. This history, then, might give some context as to why Prince responded the way he did when it came to Kiwi Farms, and why it's so unprecedented that he eventually reversed course. Kiwi Farms' harassment continued to escalate even after Sorrenti got swatted. By August 14th, she and her fiancé had relocated to a local hotel. According to the streamer, users spent hours cross-referencing a photo of bedsheets from the hotel she was staying at. She'd posted a photo of her cat. Once they successfully located her, they sent pizzas to her room under her dead name. Quote, "It's the threat they send by telling me they know where I live and are willing to act on it in the real world," Sorrenti said in another YouTube video. Her Uber Eats account got hacked and hundreds of dollars worth of food sent her way. Strangers began sending threatening voicemails to her and her family. I hope you don't have your phone number online, everybody. I hope you don't have your phone number to your cell phone on the internet. Probably shouldn't do that. Sorrenti left the country for Belfast in Northern Ireland. Kiwi Farms members once again tracked her down. One person posted a photo of a message that contained the date and a reference to Kiwi Farms, specifically outside her temporary residence. On September 3rd, Cloudflare changed tack. Prince announced that it had blocked Kiwi Farms in, quote, "an extraordinary decision for us to make and, given Cloudflare's role as an internet infrastructure provider, a dangerous one that we're not comfortable with." The company said it did not block Kiwi Farms directly because of Sorrenti's efforts. In the wake of that campaign, however, Prince wrote that, quote, "feeling attacked, users of Kiwi Farms became even more aggressive." Furthermore, the company said it proactively reached out to law enforcement. And here's the quote I sent to CC that he said does not actually indicate that they were behind the swatting on Sorrenti, which I can't even. Quote, the rhetoric on the Kiwi Farms site and specific targeted threats have escalated over the last 48 hours to the point that we believe there is an unprecedented emergency and immediate threat to human life, unlike we have previously seen from Kiwi Farms or any other customer before. Like, connect the dots. Prince wrote of the company's decision to ultimately drop the forum. Quote, we are aware and concerned that our action may only fan the flames of this emergency. The individuals that use the site to increasingly terrorize will feel even more isolated and attacked and may lash out further. There is real risk that by taking this action today, we may have further heightened the emergency. This is some of the most cucked behavior I've ever heard. Crazy people might do crazy things, so we better let them, or else they might do crazier things. Like, come on, have a spine. Cloudflare did not respond to specific questions from Wired, but reiterated parts of the statement posted last weekend. Quote, to be clear, it is not an effective or long-term solution for an infrastructure provider to take this action. We believe we need better legal mechanisms across society to ensure protection of those who come under threat of violence online, spokesperson Jesse Foster told Wired. Wow, did they ever walk that back? After being dropped by Cloudflare, Kiwi Farms has scrambled to find the web infrastructure services it needs to stay online. The security service HCAPTCHA and even Russian host DDoS Guard have both turned the extremist site away. Wow, wow, come on. Kiwi Farms founder Josh Moon has said he expects that the forum won't be able to stay up consistently anymore. As reported by NBC News' Ben Collins, Moon does not see, quote, not see a situation where the Kiwi Farms is simply allowed to operate, end quote. The site has been purged from the Internet Archive. It appears that for now it has found a home with Vanwa Tech, which has also provided services to Daily Stormer and 8kun, formerly 8chan, after their respective Cloudflare bans. So this is literally the worst place on the internet. Sorrenti acknowledged that Kiwi Farms may never fully be offline, in the same way that 8chan and Daily Stormer have persisted. But she notes that once a site loses the ability to purchase basic web services from content delivery networks, or CDNs, and web security companies, they become completely impotent, in spite of the extreme lengths they can go to in order to nominally stick around. Whether or not Kiwi Farms has been completely removed, Sorrenti said, quote, is irrelevant to the fact that the goals of our campaign have not only been achieved, but have achieved more than we could have ever expected. We won. Kiwi Farms is dead. Let's go! You sound like the spirit science guy? Wait, who's the spirit science guy? I've been told I've got a radio voice. Deepak Chopra? Don't you dare. Don't you dare say I sound like Deepak Chopra. Don't you dare. No! Hey everyone, so as many of... Where's Deepak? This guy. No! No! I haven't heard his voice in a while. I know that's not him. How to find your true self. Here we go. Hey, the art of like oral, what is it? Of dictation or whatever? You can make money that way too. A person of oh no. There's something I read recently that was like, remember the whole Jewish space lasers arc with Marjorie Taylor Greene? One take I saw that was really interesting was that we should actually try to ignore that stuff as best we can, not dunk on it, not like joke about how absurd it is, because during like Weimar Germany, some of the most shocking anti-Semitic like placards or posters that were circulated were exactly that. They were intentionally ridiculous, absurd, because it helped them spread. It made them really viral, even if it meant that it was like a weak virus, like a weak mind virus. It had really high contagion rates, even if the idea didn't stick in a lot of people's minds. So that's kind of how I feel about like, like a lot of this, like, did you hear that this crazy person said wildly crazy thing that's racist or anti-Semitic? And it's like, yeah, well, let's maybe not. Like, let's filter that shit out. Yeah, that's it, right? That's it. Like, the left... I'm so bad at marketing. So bad at it. I got a poetry slam in 2 weeks, and I still haven't, like, done the thing. Like,
You know, one of my favorite philosophers of all time, Western philosophers.
Yeah, that whole arc is very strange. The Proud Boys arc, like it coming from Aladdin or whatever. It's like kind of homoerotic.
Is somebody who is known as Ludwig Wittgenstein.
Ludwig
He
Wittgenstein.
said, our life is a dream.
Oh.
We
Oh,
are
I see what you're
asleep.
saying. I see what you're saying.
But once in a while, we wake up
Once in a
enough
while.
to know that
We wake up enough to know that this life is more than just a dream. Yeah, this is the like the Sufi speech, the speech of a priest. I've spent a lot of time in houses of worship, so I've probably
so
picked
in
up
one
from that.
way, who do we wake up to?
Yeah, what is it? Like you gotta name 5 cereals. Yeah, it's a lot of stupid stuff. I think I've seen... Oh god, we've got... Let's do it. It's Roger Stone says Proud Boys initiation. Do we have it? We've got... There should be like a clip of Roger Stone's like doing one piece of the oh god, it's just as soon as you use certain keywords, it's just you can't. He's fascinating in an insane manner. Yeah, Jogan having sane people. Bro Jogan?
No, yeah, but last night actually I finished reading this novel. It was 3 Women by Lisa Taddeo.
That's amazing. I love that book. It's a great Friday night.
Did you go out last night or was it?
Yeah, I went on a date.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
How'd it go?
It was good. We had dinner and the conversation was solid, and then he brought up the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh, hey, no. I've never heard of that. What's the Joe Rogan podcast?
Joe Rogan, like Fear Factor, eating bugs.
Yeah, wow, that doesn't ring a bell. Did you say Bro Jogan?
He's like this bald, muscly guy. He's really into MMA and talks about DMT way more than anyone rightfully should.
I honestly, you're thinking of oh fuck, what's his name?
No.
Joe Pesci.
I mean, guys love him. It's just so annoying.
I mean, I don't even really hit a podcast. I'm mostly like a magazine book kind of guy.
There's that written versus oral history, oral society thing again.
I mean, that's great.
Yeah, I'm just really lame though. I'm out of the loop. I don't know anything.
No.
That's like cool these days.
No, it's like refreshing. It's like kind of hot.
Ooh.
I don't know who Joe Rogan is. All right. Well, yeah, maybe I'll see you around.
Maybe next time.
Oh god, that clip will never ever make me stop laughing. I've probably seen that 400 million times. Every time it's funny. Hello, freak bitches. And it's DMCA safe. Golly gee. Boy howdy. Okay, so we covered the main segment. I got a bit of Varia in the background that we can probably check on out, and then I gotta bounce. I gotta take care of stuff. This was super cool. This was a neuron trying to make a connection. Looks like it's an electric microscope. No, electronic. One of those fancy microscopes. An electron microscope. There it is. So, that's cool. This is happening over hours. Like 1 hour, 1 second is an hour. So yeah, I thought that was really fascinating. We've got a clip of some kids subway surfing, which definitely don't recommend this. Definitely don't recommend this. Sheesh. Whoa, roll that clip back. Why are you jumping? What are you doing? Does your mama know where you are right now? Does your mama know where you are right now? Sheesh. That's wild to me. That's wild to me. Like, are they jumping between cars? I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. Okay. So it looks like we do have a time and a topic. Hilariously enough, Cece, I guess, originally didn't want to do this question, but when provided with evidence, he's like, I guess pick whatever topic you want. So we're going to do the question that has some basic facts built into it so that we can push the conversation beyond facts and into opinion, so that we can better understand one another. And yeah, it looks like the question will be, is it okay that Keffals is live streaming, given that she has been the victim of doxing and swatting? You wouldn't lose momentum with the jump, at least if it ain't going that fast. No, that's kind of what I was thinking, right? Like, because you're going at that speed, but like literally in the comments, you say that, and then in the comments, yeah, one of my mom's old boyfriends had a son that used to train surf. He went through a tunnel and didn't jump down onto his stomach in the right way and ended up paralyzed. It's a shame because was apparently a really talented and promising skateboarder. So there's a couple of them in there actually. A 15-year-old kid had his arm severed on a subway station near where I live, trying to do this subway surf thing. Not clicking that link, staying blue. I saw like 2 other trains with more kids. Whoa, I guess this was in Queens. Sheesh. I mean, you got to do the barrel roll. You got to like somersault. You somersault over the gap. You're like huzzah! You like jump across, and then that's how you subway surf. It's see, like they're doing it wrong. You see, they're running. Oh, he's jumping. Okay, there you go. Yeah, okay, they got their jump. I think if you miss that jump, your foot slips even a little, you fall off to the side, or you fall in between. You fall in between. That is scary. Okay, so just to sort of give a quick gut check, a smell test, if you will. What is the I guess what is my response to this question that we got here? Let me bring it up. We'll put on some tunage. They have a death wish. Yeah, I mean, like at that age, you feel you're invincible, but like, I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you. But a lot of people have gotten a lot more hurt for a whole lot less. Okay, so I want to pull up this question. Let me just see here. Text, add source, main subject. Okay. So we got ourselves a text box. And the question is, let me just copy it. And I think we did a good job of covering some of the basic facts, get a good idea. Here we go. Is it okay that Keffals is live streaming, given that she has been the victim of doxing and swatting? Okay. And then let's give it a little outline. Let's give it a little red outline. Here we go. This is really big. I know what I'm doing, chat. I swear. There we go. That's better. Okay, is it okay that Keffals is live streaming given that she has been the victim of swatting and doxing? So if he asked me any questions about whether she was swatted or doxed, I think that's pretty easy to back up. But how do we feel about whether Keffals should be live streaming from Ireland? You know, I don't think they're streaming their location. That's, I guess, an important question. Yeah, it looks like they're still chasing her around Ireland. She's pretty wild. She was doxxed in Ireland. Someone, quote, 2 days ago, someone had called in that someone in the flat had a firearm, but they dismissed it as a prank call. Global News contacted Northern Ireland police, who said they, quote, do not comment on named individuals and no inference should be drawn from this. Yeah, because, like, for me, it seems pretty clear that, like, we shouldn't be taking the side of Kiwi Farms here. Like, they're bad people doing wrong things, so we should probably be pro the victim in this case. Like, it seems pretty clear to me. And she, like, there's, I guess the question where it gets interesting is, like, how secure should she be being? Like, is it okay to live stream IRL because you're showing that you're walking by a certain park that people can Google and figure out, and then send, like, you know, meanness towards you? Yeah, I don't know. It seems like you're putting a lot of, like, of the blame. Like, it sounds like victim blaming to me. That's kind of what I want to, like, get across. Is, like, I'm not really sure why the onus should be on the person getting harmed to stop getting harmed. Like, that doesn't sound right at all. If someone robs me and I left my door unlocked, that doesn't mean I did anything wrong. And I think that's kind of where we're really disagreeing. He's like, well, yeah, you should have locked your door. And it's like, okay, but shouldn't the dude not have robbed, or the person not have robbed me? Like, come on, it's way more obvious. So I don't know. What do you think? Should Keffals just be going dark just until this all calms down, or you think that even if she went dark, if she came back, they just do it all over again? I'm not really sure why they would let up. They kind of have to take out the infrastructure they use to weaponize, right? Kiwi Farms doesn't work if they can't get mass amounts of people to coordinate. So if you take away their ability to crowdsource, problem more or less solved, and mostly solved. Sorry, what do you mean by no dark? No going dark. It doesn't make sense to go dark. Yeah. Yeah, like, I'm having a hard time why CC's putting so much onus on her. Yeah, like, I've also heard from a few trans folk who are like, yeah, like, for real, and you don't even have to be trans, you can just be a person of color or even just a small streamer. Like, you don't want to get a target on your back. And I get that, but that just kind of makes... Bro, jeez, sorry, my bad. I didn't realize the music is so loud. Excuse me, pardon me. Thank you, public loser. She is more of a boss because she's clearly going against a very dangerous opponent, and obviously, you know, like, had to improve her security and stuff, but it was a little muffled. Yeah. I keep, when you switch between background music and foreground video, you gotta play with those little dials every time. I forget. And I'm also really curious, like, we read that article where it seems pretty clear from at least, like, Cloudflare dropping Kiwi Farms basically answers the question, was Kiwi Farms behind the swatting. Like it's pretty seems pretty clear to me. Yeah, exactly. Just a lot of signals you got to keep an eye on. It is what it is. But yeah, 9:30 tomorrow. I'll get into it proper. I'm gonna need you in my chat to back me up. We need emotes. We need really strong emote game. I'm pretty sure that CC has a bigger audience than I do. It's really easy to get a bunch of people on your side just by being like frustrated without doing any research. This is so frustrating. It's like just learn, just do some basic research. Like read 2 articles and yeah, you won't be as frustrated anymore. It'll all make a little bit more sense. So that'll be tomorrow. I got so much homework, and I might be going to see some ballet tonight, which could be a lot of fun. I want to get into dancing, even though the summer's getting to be over. But yeah, it's like one of those artistic fields I haven't really learned, but gosh, I love music, and dancing are kind of part and parcel. So yeah, we're gonna get into it tomorrow. Come hang out. Should be around 9:30 normal start time. I'll be live at 9, and we'll get into it around 9:30 once we figure out all our stuff. And it looks like we have a question, so it should be fun. Should be good. I'm gonna try to keep it as calm, as peaceful, as easygoing as possible. It's gonna be kind of my vibe. You like theater? Yeah, I'm not a big... This will be my first time going to the ballet, and I'm only kind of interested in it because it's something happening tonight. It's kind of cheap, and apparently they're like remixing with tango. And anytime I hear the word tango, I'm like, okay, I'm in. I love tango. It's such a great form of music and dance. Like it's just so much goodness happening there. Anyways, that was the stream. Thanks for hanging out. It was nice seeing you, Public Loser. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, shout out Public Loser. I know what I'm doing. Yeah, nice, Bog. And I'll see you tomorrow. Have a lovely day. Au revoir. See you later. Bye-bye. See ya. Arrivederci.